Well, the unthinkable has happened. We are through the looking glass now, people. Not only has Tottenham Hotspur broken the curse, they've got Champions League football. Big Ange said it, didn't he? He said, I always win a trophy in my second season, mate. And as much as he's behaved like a petulant child and really done himself no favours for the majority of the season, he stood true to his word. And no longer can that Chiellini gif, it is the history of the Tottenham, be used. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Football Yannick. Tottenham are in the Champions League next season and they've won a respectable trophy. Manchester United are in financial crisis, ruin, mate. And I will be reacting a little bit more closely to the situation with Man United. Guys, this is 16th versus 17th in a European Cup final. I imagine the quality of the Conference League final will be a lot higher, and that's a tier below in terms of European competition. It was not a classic. It was a Brennan Johnson 1-0 goal that looked like an own goal for a while that decided it. But I tell you what, those Tottenham fans that travel to Bilbao all around the world will not care. They will not care. They got a scrappy winner and they defended it with their lives, as they should in a European final. But we, the spectator, certainly not of a Tottenham inclination, got an absolutely eyesore of a football match. But again, that's fine. In finals it can happen. Of course, guys, I am a Chelsea fan. My natural disposition is to not want Tottenham to win. They're a very well-run club. They earn a lot of money. And the one thing I was thinking, well, they just don't win trophies. That's the thing about Tottenham. They got one now, but that's the last of my Chelsea bias blue lenses I will do for this video, because this is a football channel. Of course, I nail my colours to the Chelsea mast. As a football content creator, I've got to tell you what team I support. Heck, I've got a channel called Football Therapy where I cover Chelsea meticulously. But there you go. I didn't want Tottenham to win. Tottenham won. Congratulations to Tottenham. Heung-min Son's played 465 games for them or something, and he got to experience that win. And as much as I found, originally when Ange Postecoglou came in, a breath of fresh air, nice guy, he seemed like this sort of Australian plumber that you could go and have a beer with at the end of the day and a laugh. And I loved how he was a Premier League manager of high-profile club. But yeah, this season, some of the stuff he's come out with was just mental, I thought. It's just really disrespectful. But again, it's top bants, because he said, I always win a trophy in my second season. He didn't say, I usually. He corrected people and said, always. And he's done it. He can walk away into the sunset with a trophy, but he's broken the curse. Ange Postecoglou has won Tottenham Hotspur their first trophy in a couple of decades or whatever it is. A long time. Now, who won't be liking this? Well, rivals of Tottenham, Manchester United, Arsenal. Now, let's just sort of whip up a little bit of banter. Have Tottenham had a better season than Arsenal? They've both qualified for the Champions League, but one of them have got a European trophy. And look, I like the Europa League. My club's won it twice. We've also won 2 European Cups. But, I'd like us to win the Conference League once and never be in there ever again. But I think for a young developing team, it would be beneficial for that young Chelsea squad. And, it's a European competition. It may be bottom of the table, but I tell you what, I think the Europa League is better than the FA Cup. It's better than the League Cup in terms of prestige. That's what I've thought generally this season, before this season, I must say. And I'm hoping it's an anomaly, but the quality of football in the Europa League this season was pony. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, we got to this position where the final was 16th and 17th place in the Premier League. The two teams just above the relegation zone reached the Europa League final, which is pretty disgraceful for all other teams involved. And it was a stinky final, and a 1-0 one-goal game winner did it. I tell you one thing, guys, Crystal Palace, who of course, God bless them, just won the FA Cup themselves, and qualified for this competition must be rubbing their ruddy hands together, mate. Because they were like, Crystal Palace is better than Tottenham. Crystal Palace is better than Man United at the moment. They'll think, we can win this competition. To be fair, Tottenham now will go on with their, money winning the Europa League, with their Champions League money. They will get better. They might change manager. Ange Postecoglou might ride off into the sunset, and they might just sack him anyway. Like, well done. You've done this. You've kept your. This has been good for your own reputation, Ange. You've broken the Tottenham curse, and you will be etched in history for that. But the league position speaks for itself, and we're not happy with that. We can't. We're not gonna win the Champions League. They're not going to win the Champions League next season, right? They're not. So they're not going to qualify through that, like winning the Europa League. They'll have to finish top 5. For my money, they won't finish top 5 of Ange. But, they've got good players, bro. And if they bring in another manager, and, this isn't a hit piece on Ange. I just don't think he was in the league anywhere near as pragmatic enough as he should be. Tottenham could be serious again. We're going to talk about the game. Guys, thank you for supporting me here on Football Yannick. Daily content on this YouTube channel. I appreciate your support. You can just do so by liking the video and subscribing if you return. Hit the bell noti icon should you subscribe. Vicario was player of the match on SofaScore I'm looking at here. He made an absolute worldy save towards the end to defend their 1-0 win. Of course, there was that iconic moment, probably the most highest piece of quality in the game, which was Mickey van der Ven's goal line clearance, which was Thiago Silva stuff, I must say. It was really good. That was the highest piece of quality in the game, bro. In the game. So it was a 4-2-3-1 of Ange Postecoglou with Vicario and his preferred back four, Udogie, Van de Ven, Romero and Porro. So it's his preferred back five, which is important. In the absence of Bergvall, Kulusevski and Maddison, they had to go with a really functional midfield three of Bissouma, Bentancur and Papsar. And then they had a front three of Solanke, Brennan Johnson and Richarlison with substitute appearances from Jed Spence, RC Gray, Danzo and Son. They did have Odobert and Tell, attackers on the bench, but they brought on, more functional defensive players to defend their league. And to be fair, I get it and I applaud it, prime Mourinho. I mean, but even not Mourinho, Diego Simeone. At what point did Ange Postecoglou go from, it's just who we are, mate, it's just who we are, we defend on the halfway line when line players might, we just keep attacking even when we're losing, or whatever, in any game state, to getting a scrappy 1-0 lead and turning into prime Diego Simeone and stinking the game out entirely. Entirely. For example, in the second half, of course, they got the lead at that point. They had 20% possession with 0.0 XG, 0 big chances, 0 shots to Manchester United's 11. So they completed 0 corner kicks and multiple goal-skewer saves. They had 84 passes to Manchester United's 325. They didn't even think about leaving their own defensive third in the entire second half. It's a little bit more even in the first half, but even statistically, I think Manchester United were dominant. They got a bigger expected goals, Tottenham, but even Tottenham had 37%. And they only had 3 shots to Man United's 5. So Man United were dominant in a benign possession sort of way. But yeah, Ange completely chucked out his it's just who we are, YOLO football, high press, this is what we're always going to do no matter what, mate, to sit in and die, boys, camp in. We're going to we're going to set up a seat. It's just it's pretty it's admirable that he got to the point where, right, we're just gonna do this. We're gonna win. We're gonna win this way. And of course, Tottenham went for Nuno Espirito Santo. They went for Antonio Conte. They went for Jose Mourinho. These managers that really value pragmatism. And then Ange comes in with his free-flowing, attacking, risky football. Everyone loves it. But what gets them over the line? What gets them the trophy? But the stinky, pragmatic football. So I suppose a begrudged congratulations to Champions League and playing and trophy winning Tottenham Hotspur. And on the other side of the ledger, we have Manchester United. Now, this is a big story. I'm going to do more videos on this in a little bit more detail, probably tomorrow. So keep it locked for that. Like I said, Tottenham are a really well-run club. I think they're the best financially run club in England in terms of generating revenue from different ways and keeping themselves safe. So it was desirable Champions League, but it wasn't mandatory. What was big for them is purely the optics of the trophy, breaking the curse. Yeah, that's what they needed. It's a huge bonus they're in the Champions League, but for them, they just wanted the trophy. Where Man United is completely the opposite. They've been in their, sort of complete down the depths of their banter era, and they've still won. They're winning a trophy per season. Man United have won loads of trophies, historically, and even when they're awful, they're winning trophies. For them, it's not about the trophy. They could have said, yeah, we don't want the trophy, just give us Champions League. If there was a way that these teams could shake hands, that Tottenham get the trophy and Man United get the Champions League qualification, I wonder if it would have happened. Because Man United are in huge, huge financial trouble. So, Man United lined up in their Amorim 3-4-2-1, of course, Onana in goal, Maguire, Shaw playing left centre-back, and Lenny Yoro completing the back three, Casemiro and Fernandes behind, Diallo and Mount sort of creating the box midfield, with Dorgu and Mazwari playing wing-backs, and Rasmus Højlund up top. We saw 4 changes. A lot of Man United fans were very frustrated it took so long. 71st minute and then 85th and 90th. And these were Kobbie Mainoo, Dalot, Garnacho and Xerxes, which were his game changers off the bench, essentially. Genuinely, that's those 4 players. He waited for a long, long time. That will be the big criticism. Now, Man United fans always have been singing, and to their credit, Ruben Amorim's name throughout these turbulent and difficult times. I'll be interested to see what happened here, because they didn't really turn up, Man United. There was a time when they had pressure on the ball, field tilt in the opposition half, but I think Tottenham were okay with it. I think Tottenham were fine with it, and they didn't really turn up, Man United, and they lost 1-0 to Tottenham. They are, again, are they 16th or 17th? Premier League table, because I have a feeling they are 16th, 1 point above 17th, and they've got one more game at the end of the season against Aston Villa to try and get that 40 points. As a Chelsea fan, I hope they do, because Villa is level on points with Chelsea and just behind on goal difference. So I hope Man United do really try hard and get 40 points by just drawing with Aston Villa at the end of the season. But this isn't about us, of course. Yeah, man. Look, I mean, Mason Mount, he was playing well recently. Diallo's a good player. Garnacho came on, acted like a bit of a wild card. They had the players to do it. Genuinely, they did. I thought Manchester United would do it because they've got players in this team, unlike Tottenham, that have won trophies. Mount's won the Champions League. Lots of these Man United players have won domestic trophies recently, and Casemiro's won everything there is. Bruno Fernandes has won trophies with Man United. I really thought, I genuinely thought they'd do it. So it's huge, huge problems for United. Can they attract those big players now? Because not only do they not have Champions League, they're just the team that finished at the bottom of the Premier League table, that have huge financial problems, that would need to sell to buy. Can they get their targets now? As much as Ruben Amorim, I do think he's a good young coach. I do admire, we spoke a bit about Postecoglou. Let's have a minute on Amorim. I do think I admire how he's spoken and represented him, just spoken really honestly about how bad Man United are and how underperforming they are and how the problems are much deeper than just this one final, which of course is all correct. But, the hierarchy are going to look at him and go, are we going to keep pumping? Because his remit is his football, his 3-4-2-1, And I did say when they appointed him, I don't think it's going to be like a Premier League winning way of playing, but I do think it's out of the bottom of the table, maybe into the top 8, which would be massive. That's step 1. I'll tell you what, is it going to happen? It's tough, innit? It's super friggin' tough. But yeah, no one turned up on the day. They don't have... Bruno Fernandes plays well. He's a good player. We all know this, don't we? But it's really, really worrying for Man United fans. And I will be talking about the financial situation in the coming days and the ramifications of their loss. But congratulations, Tottenham, through gritted teeth. Congratulations, Ange Postecoglou. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Keep it locked, because there's going to be so much content here over the summer. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the football. Peace.